His favorite part was the interior part too. The Cooley, Flippin' Cooley in that area. Yeah, he said that was my spent several summers there. He loved it.
I just had it paused.
Okay. So we're good to go? All right.
Yeah, it's kind of open.
Okay. We'd like to welcome you all to our Riverdale City Council meeting for Tuesday, February 4th, 2025. Please let the record show that all members of the City Council are present, as well as members of the city staff and members of the public. We have asked Councilor Hanson if she would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please rise. Repeat the Pledge of Allegiance with me. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Councilor Hanson. And we have asked Councilor Hawes if he would offer our invocation.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we come before Thee this evening as a city council with gratitude in our hearts for the many blessings that Thou hast blessed us with the opportunity we have to serve our fellow citizens. We ask Thee to bless us this day, that we will be able to take into consideration all of the knowledge and the needs of the city and the residents, and make the decisions that will be the best for the citizens. We thank Thee for all of those who work so tirelessly to make this city function properly and well. We especially thank Thee for all of our public safety employees and ask Thee to keep them safe as they serve us. We again thank Thee for all of the many blessings we have, and we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Councilor Hawes. We now have a time for public comment. This is an opportunity to address the City Council regarding your concerns or ideas. No action will be taken during the public comment. If you do approach the microphone, please try to limit your comments to 3 minutes. Please state your name and the city in which you reside.
Hello, council members. Some of you may not know this, some of you may, but we are representing Bonneville High School, the senior class of 2025. I'm Boston Blair. I'm from Riverdale City.
I'm Jaden Hanson. I'm also from Riverdale City.
And we have been informed that around this time, the senior class officers will go around the cities and ask for donations for the senior party, and we are wondering if you guys would like to contribute this year to that.
Okay. Thank you for. We'll note that we don't take any action right now, but we appreciate you coming to our meeting.
It's been budgeted.
We do
for
have
you.
it in our budget, but we don't give it to you unless you come and ask for it. So, yeah, so I'm glad you showed up, because if you don't show up,
What do you have planned this year?
Right now, we haven't finalized the plans, but we were thinking most likely going back to Skinny Dogs and having no drugs or alcohol, and having many supervisors there to make sure everything goes along right.
Awesome.
that's good, because I think the money comes through our police department, and so that's that makes things. Thanks for adding that. You're on camera. We appreciate you adding that to it. It makes us all look better. So, yeah, thanks. I hope you guys have a nice, safe party, and congratulations on your graduation this coming spring. So, anyway, thanks for coming tonight.
All right, thank you guys.
Thank you. Okay, seeing no other comments, we'll move on to the presentations and reports portion of our meeting. Number one, the mayor's report. I don't have a lot of items, but I have been attending a lot of meetings about the state legislature, and they have a lot of interesting ideas, as always. They're always thinking up things to do and bills to pass. Just a couple of them that are kind of maybe you should be aware of. There's one, they're trying to control whether cities can they're trying to take away our ability to control whether builders put garages on homes or not. They want to control that at the state level. which I think is kind of interesting. And I mean, not that, yeah, anyway, you know how those bills go. Like they just want to control at the state level. They think they know better. They do have one that I just heard of today that does not allow any parking in bike lanes. And I wasn't sure if our bike lanes, are they shared? Are they considered shared? They're painted, but some of them are shared. Okay. And some of them are designated bike lanes, right? Which could have an impact on our residents. And I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. But once again, it's them controlling what we do in our city. Councilor Arnold?
Isn't it a designated bike lane, though? You have a parking area, then the bike lane, and then the driving area. And if you have the shared, it's just the one.
So they can be both ways. It's kind of dependent on how they're signed and how they're symboled. We do have some that are separated, but the shared ones are usually more of a single lane type situation.
And that's what I thought. But in the meeting, they said, these are where there's a designated break or a curb, and then they said, or sometimes it's just painted. And I was like, oh, geez, So, and the shared ones you can still park on them, from what I heard. But there is a really interesting bill about advanced air mobility. You guys might have heard a little bit about this, but they're kind of getting it ready for the Olympics. It's drones to cart people and cargo around. The airport's going to play kind of a big role in that, apparently, and it's going to have to work with Hill Air Force Base. But it's kind of an interesting future. They talked about how commonplace it might be in the next 5 years, just to see drones everywhere taking people and cargo and your Walmart order and your Amazon stuff. So anyway, some interesting stuff going on. Not all bad. And that's all I had for the presentation reports. Anything from the city council on their assignments for this meeting? Okay. Number 3, recognition of Amy Ann Spires for her service on the Planning Commission. Amy, if you would come up, please, to the microphone. Amy has spent 7 years on the Planning Commission and done a great job. I've watched a lot of the meetings. She was a chair for a little while and has really served as a strong backbone for our Planning Commission and been a good example and guided the city for the past 7 years and helped with that. So we definitely appreciate her for that, and I'd like to give her a round of applause for that. We also have a gift for you. Yeah, it's okay. You can just give it to her. That's fine.
Why are you leaving?
Because it's time for somebody new to. Brandon will grow his hair back now.
You're young enough you could come back on, so you never know. Maybe a different time
Never
in
know.
your life.
I love our city, though.
Yeah.
It's been an honor to serve, and I love our city.
And we appreciate it. But I want to give you a couple minutes to say a few things if you'd like.
I love our city. I treasure our law enforcement department and all of our first responders. That's a very tender spot in my heart and will always be. And I love our city. It's been an honor to serve. And you move up or you move out. And so I don't want to do your guys' jobs. So it's been an honor to serve. And I'm just thankful and happy that I've been able to do it.
We definitely appreciate you, and know you've spent a lot of hours, looking over plans and doing stuff. And we're sad to lose you. We lose a lot of knowledge as you leave, but
Thank you.
But don't be afraid to reach out if you're ever interested again. We're
Okay.
always looking for good planning commissioners. And anyway, thanks again.
Thanks, you guys.
Okay. Item number 4, new disclosure forms. Ms. Maragoni.
So, I know some of you just found out that last year in 2024, HB 80 changed some of the requirements for the disclosure forms for elected officials. It took us a little while to figure out who had to do this extra stuff and who didn't, but it's all been straightened out now, so we have new forms for everybody to fill out that have a lot more questions. So I made them into a PDF form that you can fill out. So I'll just email them to you. If you want a paper copy, let me know, but it is 3 or 4 pages long. So, all I got. Then
We
we'll get them
talked about
posted
it
on the website.
briefly. There's a lot more in-depth questions, but they are all legally required, even though they seem like they
I
are
like copied them right from code, basically.
more
So.
than need to be required, but
Yeah.
whatever. State. Okay. So she'll get that out. We are a little bit, we need to get those updated as soon as possible. All right. City survey results, Miss Maragoni. I feel like we should have a drum roll or something. This is exciting. I haven't even seen these.
Drum roll. Okay, so this is the dashboard. Hopefully you guys will be able to see it pretty well. We ended up, can you guys hear me okay? Is this close enough? You can see right here we had 436 responses, which is pretty good. We were trying to get more than 300 to beat South Ogden. They have more residents, so we did that. Right here, we asked if they were a resident or not. And so we have 17 people, 4% that said they were not. And everybody said they were residents who answered. This one's a little bit hard to see with the bars the way they are up here, it's really, really tiny on my screen, so bear with me. Really tiny. We asked them a couple of questions about just kind of general living in Riverdale. And then the colors are for, this many strongly disagreed, this many somewhat disagreed, they were just in the middle. And here with the lighter blue, somewhat agree and then strongly agree in the dark blue. So you'll see some more bars like that, and that's where it goes from kind of worst to best. Those questions overall were pretty positive. Didn't really see anything negative there. We asked them about priorities. We gave them a list of all of these things with the infrastructure, public safety, parks and trails, etc. Some others, which we gave them some space to respond to those. You'll be able to see those when I export it. You'll be able to see all of those different responses. I mean, on the dashboard, you can just kind of scroll through them. But we did see a lot of pickleball requests. We saw a lot of, wait, which one's this? Couple of comments that said all of these things would benefit, so they had a hard time picking 3. But it's really just kind of basic infrastructure, public safety, parks and trails, more arts and cultural stuff, senior services. We did have, I think, a lot of seniors fill out the survey. So there's quite a few comments on there about don't let the senior center go, keep it around. Sports and recreation programs. People on this question seem to be pretty okay with what we have. There wasn't a lot on that for enhanced sports and recreation programs. The next section is not gonna scroll. There we go. We asked them about how much they use services and how valuable they are. This is another one that's going to be a lot easier to compare when you can look at it a little bit closer. As far as how often they use them, the never or the not often is probably the better answer for some of these things like animal control, code enforcement. If they don't need them, they're not going to use them, and that's a good thing, right? Justice court, everybody said it. I never use it, which is good. I think a lot of our justice court comes from other places. Parks and trails was more positive. Police and fire, they felt like was pretty important over here. Huge important, but they don't tend to use it as much. Recreation programs was kind of in the middle. Senior services, this is a lot of people never use it, but felt that it was pretty valuable. So you can kind of see how those correlate.
It's probably different people, right?
I
mean, it's different people.
Which is different?
The people that don't, well, yeah.
So it was 2 questions. So they should be opposite, because the people who don't use it very often, a lot of times will see it most valuable. Or, no, that's not right.
I'm not sure about that. Yeah.
No, I said that
Well,
backwards.
it kind of just shows that it wasn't just the seniors probably saying that the senior center is important.
Yeah, because you do have 143 extremely valuable and 138 that said very valuable.
Right.
And that's more than half. That's, well over half.
Versus how many people using it? Like,
Only
yeah, 20, 40.
20, 40, 60 maybe
Yeah,
said they
okay.
use it very often, and 300 don't.
Okay.
So even the people who don't use it feel like it's a value.
Yeah.
Is what I
Yeah.
meant to say.
That's what I meant. It's different people actually.
Yeah. It probably is. The level of service rating, this one, take it with a grain of salt, because people will use these to complain. But we do have pretty good ratings. Justice Court is always going to be low, because people who have been there are probably not happy that they're there.
Yeah.
So there are some positive responses. Anything that was 2 stars or less, we asked them to explain there. This one is a little difficult because it doesn't relate back in this unless you go actually into the survey and look at it. So it's hard. You have to kind of figure out which ones are for which departments. But some of them are pretty easy. Code enforcement, animal control, justice courts are the only ones that had anything low, and those are all kind of negative interactions for people. So everything else was pretty good, pretty high. Fire, community center, police, all ranked really high. And for police to rank high, that's, from my limited experience, that's pretty good.
We're striving for a 5.
Yeah. Asked about the importance of public safety in some different areas, some disaster preparedness, emergency medical services, fire, police, and traffic safety. Again, that's those same bars that you can kind of look. Emergency medical service, fire department, and police were a lot higher. I don't know that people really understand what disaster preparedness or it even means. And then traffic safety was just kind of half and half. But then we asked them, would you support an increase in funding if it meant a potential increase in taxes or reduction in funding to other services? And this was surprising. I thought that the majority said yes. So 62% said yes, and only 37 said no, or 38%. Asked them a little bit about Parks and Rec. This is where we got a lot of our pickleball responses. A couple of people said dog parks. A couple people just used it to complain, which probably about one thing. You can kind of tell those ones. But there are some good ideas in there. I would say look at those ones pretty closely when you're going through them, because there's a lot of responses in there. On this part, on the facilities or improvements you'd like to see, some of them, these are the others here, but, walking and biking trails was huge for some reason. And I thought we had a lot. And then we asked them the same question, would they pay for it? And again, we had about 60%. The majority said they would be in favor of that, and only 39.3 said no. You guys can stop me if you have questions. Ask them about the current level of public services. That's kind of a broad question. And some of these things we kind of learned, this was our first survey. So on the answers, next time we do this, we'll probably be a little more specific on things like that. But most people said they were extremely satisfied, or at least somewhat satisfied. Hardly anybody said, these guys were just like, I don't know, whatever, I'm fine. But only a couple of responses for dissatisfied, and I'm sure they've explained them here. This is another one that if they answered either of those bottom two, then it prompted them to put more information, so that's where this comes from. And then we asked them about infrastructure, where they thought the money should go, and the condition of the streets and roads. This is another one that it was overwhelmingly positive. I mean, you got a little bit of fair. You got like one guy that said, 6 people that said poor. Maybe they live off by the bridge. But excellent, and I mean, that's 3/4 of the whole pie that said that our infrastructure is good. And this is just kind of the same stuff, but lighting, sidewalks. And then we asked them about businesses, what they thought about the importance of investing in new or local businesses. The dark here is the extremely important over to least important here. So people generally seems like think that we should be supporting more local businesses, but there is still a lot here. If you look at the blue and the gray, that's still pretty high. So
With the local business, do you mean businesses that are already here, or are you thinking smaller, non-chain?
smaller businesses,
Non-chain
like, yeah.
business, okay. It's funny, we learned a lot, and there's definitely some things we can do on this, but we have unlimited surveys.
It was hard.
Yeah, it was a lot.
Questions. We asked them what type of businesses they would like to see more of, just kind of as a curiosity kind of thing. It's not, I mean, we can't fully control that. If businesses come in and they have land, they can, do that. But we had quite a bit here, healthcare and wellness, and then in the other, there was quite a few that said a gym. We don't, there's Vasa and Ogden, there's Vasa and Roy, but we don't really have a gym here, and there's several that asked about that. Not a ton of restaurants or professional services, but hospitality and tourism got a little bit.
Maybe we need to advertise a little bit more on the deal with Roy or something.
Yeah.
And then we have the rec center too. A little
Yeah.
bit. I don't know.
So the rec center comes up
just
here
don't know.
too, where several people said we need new equipment there in the fitness room. I can't remember which question it was on, but then we gave them some overall comments. So, and quite a few on there.
This is
too.
housing? Okay.
Oh, nope, I skipped on. We just asked him one question about housing and development because Brandon's planning on doing a little more detailed survey later on that type of stuff. So we just asked one question. What's your opinion on our current efforts to support housing and affordability? A couple said excellent. Most of them said average. A couple said poor. And 26% didn't have any opinion at all on it. So they just don't know anything about it, I'm sure. Which kind of tells us that it might be a good idea to put some information out maybe in another survey. Or that's one thing I got from this is that what do we need to put more information out about? On social media and newsletters and stuff. So this will be helpful for content that way. The overall comments was just anything that we didn't ask them that they wanted to say. Couple complaints, couple suggestions. Some really good.
No.
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 A lot of people did mention the school all throughout the survey. And probably not realizing the school district controls that. But a lot of people have concerns about how the school is. And then we just asked them about the communication, how they heard about it. Most people got this survey from social media. We sent it out different ways. We put a link in the newsletter or a QR code. Send it out on social media, Instagram and Facebook. Put it on the website. Some people just heard about it from a friend or family, which makes you wonder if a couple of those were the non-residents. We put a little thing in the utility bill with a QR code too, so that people could get it that way. And then a lot of them found out about it at the senior center.
And we sent an email out too, didn't we?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and that's in the other, it looks like. A lot of them said email, like we emailed it to them.
And that went out after we had put this, the email went out after the survey went out, so. And then the last question, we just asked them how they prefer to receive information. And with this one, we were kind of thinking, with some transitions with Chris retiring, and he did the newsletter and the website and everything, so we thought we would just kind of ask. And along with that, I asked a lot of other cities too what they do with their newsletter, and almost everybody still prints it. But this was kind of interesting, just how they prefer to receive the information. They like the email, they like the website, and they like social media and the printed newsletter. Digital, if you can combine those two together, you know, it's pretty much everything but public meetings. It's kind of all in there. And that's that. So when I export this, it'll show you every graph and then also all of the answers to the questions, but it's just in one big PDF. So it's not, without knowing what you're kind of looking at, it's a lot easier to look at that once you've seen this. So that's why I didn't send it to you yet. But
Any questions for Ms. Maragoni? So I just want to thank her. This was a huge project. I mean, we all worked together on it, but she's the one that kind of got assigned to be over the survey and learned how to really set up all the questions and come up with all the graphs and build the dashboard. And there's definitely some things that we can do better with the survey. And that's the exciting thing, though, is this was a great learning experience, and she is even better now than she was, you know, with this survey. She's just going to get better every time. So if there's something you'd like to see, I love the idea of doing a housing survey, or we can really drill down on some things. It's going to help us going forward with information we want to find out. Sometimes we can find it out pretty quickly.
they don't all have to be big like this.
Right.
Like we
This
can
was
do a
huge,
1-2
took
question.
forever. Yeah.
We have unlimited surveys, so.
Right. Yeah. So, okay. Well, thank you. Really appreciate all that. And it's going to be very helpful going forward for us to help make decisions. That is a great response on that. And yeah, thanks for everything you did on that. Yep. And then she will be mailing it out to us. So I'm excited to read some of those comments and stuff. All right. Consent items. Number 1, consideration to appoint Alan Bowthorpe to the Riverdale City Planning Commission. As you can tell, we have an opening because Amy Ann Spires has retired, or her term has run out, and so we have Mr. Bowthorpe here tonight. I spoke to him and was very impressed with him as I interviewed people for the position. So we'll ask him to come on up to the microphone and just introduce himself a little bit and kind of let you know where he lives and what he knows about the city, and then and his background, and then you can ask him any questions you might have. We make sure that looks like that button is up. It needs to be. Yeah.
Is it up? Can you hear me?
I think it is up.
Okay, we're good.
Well, like you said, my name is Alan Bowthorpe. In relation to being able to fill the shoes of Amy, it sounds like they're pretty healthy, strong shoes that I'm going to have to fill. One thing about me, I grew up in Riverdale. I was born and raised in Riverdale. I grew up on Cherry Drive. I live on Cherry Drive now. I only spent 6 years away from Riverdale throughout my whole life. I was under the eyes growing up of Chief Wes Woolsey because he lived on Cherry Drive. So I was always in his sights. But Riverdale, well, I retired from America First Credit Union. I worked there for over 30 years, and I've been retired for about 9 years now. But Riverdale obviously is under my skin because I've lived here so long, I've seen so much, and I love Riverdale. I've got a lot to learn. Boy, this is going to be fun. It's a new chapter in my life, and I look forward to it. I look forward to learning a lot and serving and enjoying the service again. That's what we did in the America First. We look for being able to serve people, and that's what I think I can do here again, because that's what I lived for over 30 years, was serving people. But yeah, I just love Riverdale. I'm just dyed-in-the-wool Riverdale resident. So, any questions?
Any questions? All right. Well, as you can see, he checks all the boxes. He's been in Riverdale almost his whole life. He worked for America First. He has the recommendation of our Planning Commission chairman, Mr. Anderson, and he knew Wes Woolsey. So that's pretty much all we need to know.
Tells you how old I am.
But okay. Well, in that case, all those in favor of appointing Alan Bowthorpe to the Riverdale City Planning Commission, please say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? All right, you're on. So
Okay,
we're
thank
excited
you.
for you, and you will learn a lot. But I think you're going to do a great job. So thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right. Number 2, consideration to appoint Brandon Cooper to the MIDA Falcon Hill Development Review Committee. Mr. Cooper, is there anything you want to say about this MIDA Design Review Committee? Or we talked about it a little bit in advance. It was a position held by Mr. Eggett previously. Councilor Hawes.
What does MIDA stand for?
MIDA is the Military Installation Defense Authority, which is essentially a land use body that it was set up by the state.
Great question. Any other questions? MIDA also will play a little bit of a role in that Three Gates trail that we're working on that goes from on the old Bamberger line, goes past our pedestrian bridge up by Convergys, goes all the way down kind of the trailhead in the river bottoms, and then goes clear to Roy and goes to the Three Gates of Hill Air Force Base. So MIDA plays a big role in that. It'd be good to have you on there. So, okay, any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of appointing Brandon Cooper to the MIDA Falcon Hill Development Review Committee, please say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? Okay, you're on it. Number 3, consideration of Harley Davidson single event beer license and local consent. Mr. Brooks, are you taking this one? Or sorry, Ms. Maragoni, were you taking it?
We do have a representative here from Harley Davidson. If you guys have follow-up questions on this.
So, little background, we had to figure this out together because I've never had a single event come in. So, apologies to Sean.
Oh, you're fine.
For the not knowing what I do, but we got it figured out, so. He's a kind of on a time crunch, he's got till tomorrow to ask for the state license. So, but this is Sean, he's from Harley Davidson, they're doing just a one-night event, it's a wrestling.
Yes. Professional wrestling in the showroom.
Yeah, let's have him come up. Yeah, good call. Maybe just introduce yourself.
Hi, my name's Sean Klingenpill. I work up the Golden Spike Harley Davidson up the street. I've worked there for 20 years. I worked there when we were just down here across the street. And, we're always doing events and just anything to bring people indoors. And you might have seen they do like professional wrestling up in Ogden at Kamikazes. And I got a hold of those guys and we're just going to do it at the store in the showroom. And I'd like to be able to sell some beer, raise some money. Any money we raise goes to charity. We don't look to profit off these things. We just want to get some people in the door and maybe some new faces.
So it's an indoor event?
Yes.
Okay.
Is it evening or day?
Evening. It would be Saturday, February 15th from 6 to 9 o'clock.
Okay.
So inside the store, everything's secure. Everything's... Yeah, there won't be any drinking or anything outside. And I'd hire professional bartenders and licensed bartenders and stuff.
That's kind of presumptuous, isn't it?
Okay. Any other questions?
So this is, just like with the other liquor licenses, it's a local consent. The state won't issue any kind of a liquor license until the city says, yeah, it's okay. So that's what we're agreeing.
And the state has a one-day event license, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really common thing, just not for the.
All right. Well, if there are no other questions, and all those in favor of allowing Harley Davidson a single event beer license local consent, please say yes.
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 Are there any opposed? Okay, seeing none, looks like you have your single event beer license. So thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you, everybody.
Great activity for Valentine's Day, it sounds like, and
Heartbreak weekend is what we're calling it.
Heartbreak weekend. We'll take the significant other to a wrestling event. That'll be great. Okay. Thanks for taking care of that, Miss Maragoni. Thanks for all you do. I know it's a lot of it's learning. I talk about Mr. Bothorpe.
Always.
It's just kind of learning always here, right?
Yep, always something I haven't done before.
Okay, we'll move into the action items. Number 1, discussion regarding formally recognizing administrative policies within the city and consideration of ordinance number 991, delegating authority to create policies. Mr. Brooks?
Thank you, Mayor. As I explained in a pre-planning meeting, I think at some point in time Riverdale has done something similar to this, whether or not it's been formally recognized, I don't know. But as we've gone these last couple of years, we're implementing a lot of policies, things like just clarifications, things that we do but we don't put in writing. Rather than put all those things into our city code and just make that thing so much bigger, or our personnel policy, my thought with this is just to create a separate, so we'd have a third thing now that would document all these policies that we have. So anything we do in the city, just like the one we have later on in the agenda tonight, when we talk about, what policy do we use to obtain volunteer coaches. Well, that's been in place since I've been here, but nobody knows what it is but myself and Stacy. And so these are the kind of things that I think it's important that the council signs off on that. And even probably more important is that the community has the opportunity to look these things up and see how we operate and why we do what we do. And so it's kind of a good thing for us, is we can just say, we'll go check the policy. Here it is. It's right on it'll be on our website. On that new codification, there's a section on there that will allow for administrative policies. So like I said, I think it's already been done. And as I mentioned in a pre-planning meeting, I actually found one when I was cleaning off my desk, and it had a number 7 on it. So they did do this at some point in time here. Just by way of history, I mean, technically it generally is the mayor's responsibility to handle the day-to-day operations, so this would not be uncommon. I mean, other cities, especially bigger cities, have this and do this. Maybe not so much in smaller cities. But I don't remember what the year was, 2005 roughly. It was back when we were having all the things with nepotism, when Stacy was involved with the council the first time. Right about that same time period, there was a big war between mayors and councils and stuff. So the state finally stepped in and said, look, whatever you're doing now, and it's the same thing with your form of government. They implemented all this at that time, and they said, whatever you're doing now is what you will do from here on in the future. And most of those cities at that time did exactly that. They gave the day-to-day operations to the mayors and the legislative things to the councils. And so that's kind of what this is. But we think it's important, obviously, when there is a policy for the city, that the council signs off on all these things. And so you'll see in that resolution there that I did state, I think in 2 different places in there, that all these things will come through this body. And so you'll have the chance to, give your opinions on them and object to them and change them and tweak them, whatever we need to do. But I just think it's a way for us to do things the way we should do it and make it so it's accessible to the public, and you guys are all signing off on these things. So I don't know if you have any questions on any of that, or if you have concerns about it. It's just, I think it's the right thing to do. And like I said, we may have approved it, but I can't find anything that says we did previously. So this would be officially doing it. And we'll go back through. I asked Michelle today to try and find that previous book of policies, and we'll start bringing some of those in. They're probably going to have to be updated, but it would be nice to do it. Even the park policy that we did last meeting or 2 meetings ago, that would have been a good one to put in here rather than bog down our city code. What I'd prefer to do is just refer to it in the city code and say, check policy number whatever, approved by what, so it's not taking up a lot of space, but it's still available, so somebody can look it up and find it quickly and easily.
Okay, any other questions or comments on this? Ms. Maragoni?
I did find the book. It's, an electronic form. It's, I sent it to you.
Okay.
So it has the first 10, so we know at least somewhere to pick up. And then also our new code website will have a place for all of these to live, so that everybody will be able to click on them and see them.
Okay, very good. All right. Councilor Arnold.
Move to approve ordinance 991 is stated within the packet.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? Ms. Maragoni, will you please poll the council?
Councilor Arnold?
Yes.
Councilor Stevens?
Yes.
Councilor Halls?
Yes.
Councilor Richter?
Yes.
Councilor Hanson?
Yes.
All right, that passes unanimously. Thank you. We move to item number 2 now, consideration of resolution 2025-03, approving the purchase of Riverdale's Park playground equipment in an amount not to exceed $450,000. Mr. Douglas.
Thank you, Mayor. So we've been working on this for quite some time. Norm, that works under me, has spent way more time than I have putting this together. We went to a lot of parks, looked at a lot of playgrounds, tried to find some really nice stuff that fits in the spaces that we have, and that it fits our hometown. Like, we're not trying to draw people from everywhere to it, but it's a very good fit for what we have and for our residents. Taft's here with Big T Recreation. I've asked him to come, and he's going to kind of come and go through a slideshow. We've looked at a lot of proposals from different playground, and this is the one we've kind of chosen for our pick of the playgrounds. There is some color choices on this, so if you'd like to be involved in picking the colors, he's also going to touch a little bit on the all access, because I know that's a big topic now, and this has quite a few all access areas in it. It's not a total all access playground, but we will be removing both of the playgrounds at Lower Riverdale and adding these in if you choose to do so. And I'll just let him kind of go through the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Mayor, City Council members, so good to be with you today. It's good to see so many familiar faces as well, too. Over the years, I've had the opportunity to interact with you at the City of Leagues and Towns Conference and at other places as well, too. So I'm thankful for the opportunity to be with you. As Mr. Douglas stated, this project kind of started, I think, almost 6 to 8 months ago or so, when my company was invited to give a proposal on upgrading the Riverdale City Park. The direction that we were given at that time was to renovate the park with modern playground equipment to hopefully increase the users and the community interest in the park. So we went through a number of designs over that period of time, and through that time it was narrowed down until we rested on this park design that we'll be showing you tonight. A park like this is, and a playground like this is very, very significant. What you're seeing here is not something that is small and insignificant to a community like this. It will be visited by literally hundreds of people every single day, and really become an icon and a beloved place within the community. So I'll kind of just dive into it and let you see the video here. We're going to show some different colors and such. Some key kind of data points for you to reference to. When we talk about all abilities playgrounds, we first focus on the national standards for ADA accessible playgrounds. This playground meets and exceeds that. It's like an interesting data point would be on a playground of this size with square footage and the amount of elevated and ground level activities that we have. A playground of this size would require 18 accessible items on the playground. This playground that you're going to see tonight has 48 plus activities on the playground that are fully accessible. There is a ramp section on this playground as well, too, for those that would be in possibly a mobility device to be able to access the playground as well. And I think it's best if I let this play a little bit and take some questions on it. This is going to have sound. If you'd like to turn the sound off if it plays. Maybe no sound. Good. Yeah. So a couple things that I really, really like about this design is, as you watch this, is one of our design standards or best practices of park and playground design is like to incorporate what we have in the industry as all 7 types of play. So, in which you have here in these designs. The 7 types of play, just so I don't forget any of them. For instance, you're going to see on this playground, you're going to see balancing elements. You're going to see lots of slides. And this playground also has tube slides, spiral slides, and also what we call our multi-generation mighty descent slide, which is that big slide that you see there to the right of your screen right now, it's a large, wide slide that's 8 feet tall that allows multiple users and parents to also go down the slide. You have brachiating, which is overhead events like monkey bars. You have spinning, you have climbing, you have swinging, and you also have a number of sensory items throughout this as well too. So different play panels and sensory items that are found throughout. A couple little really, really neat things is we've also themed this with what I'm calling critters. So you might see a caterpillar as you look through the playground. You will see sort of a lumbering sleeping bear with a crawl tube, and you'll also see a big frog as well. These are really there just to ignite imagination and also create sort of a theme or a destination. You'll hear lots of times community members talk about going to the frog park, going to the bear park, and going to this awesome playground. And I think there's just, as you look at it, we'll show you some different colors as well too. it just feels right and looks right. As we've gone up and we've surveyed the park and looked at the parking and how people use it and the walking path that's up there, this is definitely a playground that looks correct as well too, even though being very modern and with all of the new bells and whistles that are there. Any questions so far?
Does this have music elements built in?
It does. It does. It actually has. You have like the chime panel that is found throughout that are found throughout the playground. Say, for instance, on some of the upper decks, as you actually go inside the actual tower, you'll see like up on the far left of the tower right now, there's a sensory and musical panel up on the very top as well. One other interesting thing, just as I look at this, there was a national study that just came out on playgrounds that stated that playground use actually increases by 17% if you provide shaded bench activity. You know, and that fits in right here. 17% goes up just if we have shaded bench areas. And this playground here has multiple shaded bench areas for the community members.
So I had a couple of questions.
Yes, ma'am.
So are you going to remove the current benches that are there?
Yes.
Yes. This will take out all that. I love the shaded benches. I was going to mention that. Man,
Thank you.
shade is just so important in the summer for everybody's enjoyment. The surface, is it wood chips or is it something?
It will be, and it will be pretty much all new when we get done.
All new wood chips, but loose wood chips, not.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. That's all I have so far.
If I could make just one clarification on the wood chips. So yes, the entirety of the playground pit will be wood chips, except for one access point, which is from your concrete pathway, your sidewalk, to the accessible deck. Okay. That will actually be a rubber surfacing pathway. Gotcha. For accessibility.
So that's right in that area right there, correct?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Just to that little ramp. Okay. Okay.
Any other questions before I move on to colors, just to provide you some color options?
Counselor Hawes.
What have they done in regards to making it heat resistant? I mean, having the different shade elements is nice, but they're still, you can't shade it all the time.
Correct, and in direct sunlight, playgrounds will continue to get hot. Yeah, there's not any new technology in powder coating or in plastics that has significantly reduced that. Yeah, you look at different like plastic densities that are used in the playground industry, like on a slide and such, but they don't make a significant amount of difference that you could say, well, that slide could be in direct sunlight and not be too hot. There's not that technology that exists in the industry.
Okay. I remember the metal ones, so
less hot than the metal.
Yeah.
Less hot than the metal, but we've included, though, you'll see like we're anticipating that the Mighty Descent slide, which is that large multi-user slide that is found right here, we anticipate that will be a must-use item all the time, right? And so that actually has a shade structure over the top of it to guard against that.
Would you kind of touch on a couple of keys like the rope feature?
Like the spinner there?
Yeah, I think that's one we talked about, that it seems like it's going to be really popular.
Yeah, really neat. It's much larger than what the picture would actually show you. You know, it's a large multi-user, multi-tier spinner that can accommodate, you know, a number of kids, 15 plus kids all at one time. It's tall as well too. It's 9.5 feet tall from the base of the spinner to the top. So it's a tall dynamic product.
you know, when I saw that, I remembered the witch's hat.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah,
playground had. They took it out while I was in elementary school. It was very dangerous, but it was fun.
I have played on this spinner, and it is a very good time. As an adult. I did like it.
Any questions? And so we put together a number of different color options for you to consider. Being the first one, what you've been seeing in the animation video. Then we also put together a natural theme if you wanted to do browns and greens. And we also did sort of a combo of the two. So not exactly pastels or purples or such, but something sort of right in between as well.
I would say staff's preferred was the first one that you seen, the purple. We feel like we're putting in a substantial feature here, and we kind of want to draw attention to it, not hide it was our thought, but definitely.
They all hold up equally well to the sun, coloration, fading. Yeah.
Yes, great question.
Okay. Any other questions on this from the council?
What is the average lifespan of some of these?
15 to 20 years. Yeah. Depending on a number of how much it gets used, the environmental issues as well. But we see commercial playground now in an elementary school, for instance, being 15 to 20 years.
This one is heavily used. It will be heavily used just because of the splash pad being there.
And how old is the equipment that we have there?
I should have brought that number with me. It is over 15 though.
Because I want to say that I remember voting on it.
Yeah, it's over 15.
And that was 20 years ago.
And it needs to be replaced. Like we're fighting it.
Did you say you can't get replacement parts?
And some of the
anymore for
parts
that?
now, it's been in manufacture so long, out of manufacture so long, we can't get the replacement like the slide pieces and that for us. So we've been fighting with that, just piecing it together.
What's the timeline on construction? Do you build it, Sean, or?
So we are going to do the removal, and then they're going to do the install. And we're looking at, from approval, we're probably about 12 weeks. So it would be right in that springtime, so we can hurry and have it in and have it done for summer if it
That's
moves
correct.
along. So
Construction timeline is roughly about 4 weeks too, once we start.
Did you say we're going to do upper and lower?
no, we've replaced the upper one. So there's he's going to go to it next, but there's a small playground right next to the pavilion itself, just like the tot lot, and that one we'd do as well on this project.
So here our approach was to do something that would complement the other playground. Also, you'll see some other critters here, like a turtle and a butterfly, but provide something specifically for the 2 to 5 age group. So this is a playground specifically for younger kids. Also has a shade structure over the top of it as well too. And this surfacing would all be engineered wood fiber, wood chips as well.
And that shade structure lasts 15 to 20 years too, or does it have fabric?
It does.
Okay.
It does. We recommend that the shade fabrics, if you're in an environment with a lot of snow or such, they're not snow rated. They are wind rated, but they're not snow rated. So if you want to extend the lifespan of the shade structure, we recommend taking those down every winter and putting them back up.
There's no benches at the tot lot.
There is. We're planning on just using the existing ones, and then usually the parents here, the pavilion's right there, and they usually sit in that for shade. It's a way smaller lot as far as that.
Right, and we also did different color combinations on this as well too, matching the original design of the larger playground, then also doing a natural theme and also a brighter color theme.
Okay.
So on this,
yes,
not for you, but this kills all our stuff about the park. All the talk that we have about sometimes the school comes in and talks about building a school on the park, or the park's going to be here for 15 to 20 years.
So where
We
they've
can just stop talking about the park.
where they've talked about doing the school would be on the upper one. This is on the lower. I've never heard anybody mention the lower park for the school. I
You're
can't say
talking
they
about
haven't.
the All Abilities Park and the upper part. He's talking about the school moving down to the lower park, the whole building.
I don't think they were going to move it to the lower.
And I
think
hadn't
it's-
heard that, but maybe they talk about stuff that we're not at, so
Right.
I hadn't heard that.
That wasn't what I understood in the meeting that we
No.
had the district.
It's
No.
not a consideration right now.
No.
Good question, though.
Because if I'm saying yes, I don't want it to be a consideration at all. We're spending $500,000
Right.
and
No, I wouldn't.
we just tell the school district it's off the table. We're not.
I wouldn't even worry about that at this point.
Okay.
I think we're safe.
Okay. Can we get a couple critters throughout the park?
If you'd like, we can work on that.
Get a trim around them and stuff.
Well, not
throughout-
necessarily
throughout
that.
the
you know,
grass.
Are you talking live ones or play structures or what?
Oh, that's what I was referring to, was live ones. I was
Yeah.
like, we got raccoons.
Oh, yeah. No, we already got those.
raccoons.
Very good. I thank you for your consideration.
Okay, thanks, staff. Okay, any questions or comments on this? Okay. Councilor Arnold.
My computer died. Oh, it's off.
Do you want me to make the motion?
Yeah.
I'll make the motion that we approve resolution 2025-03, approving the purchase of the Riverdale Park playground equipment in an amount not to exceed $450,000, with that minor change to the resolution itself to clarify that it's just in the one park.
Do we want to choose a color? Or is that, who's choosing the color?
If you don't choose one, we'll choose it for sure. I just wanted to give you some options if anybody had anything. Like I said, as we looked through them and went to other parks, at first we was thinking, well, let's blend it in. We'll do the green and that. But as we went to other parks and that, it's like, yeah, it kind of hides it a little bit. But like we've spent a lot of money on this and a lot of time. Like, why do we want to blend it in or hide it like it should be a feature of the park? So we like the first option. If you guys would like something different, like we're open for suggestions.
Do you want me to add that to the motion? Or we'll leave it to staff to choose the color?
No.
You don't want to?
I was going to second it with the bright color option.
With the number one option?
If you
The
agree.
purple option?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll add that to my motion.
So the motion is okay with the color number one, the bright color, and the second is okay as well. That we have a second. Okay. Well, the second actually made it, but that suggestion.
With a couple critters thrown in, like a couple of turtles or something around the walking trail.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion on that?
Yeah.
Yeah, Councilor Stevens.
I didn't realize the color was going to be decided here, but because it wasn't written out. But anyway, my personal preference is yeah, I like a look that's more stands out. But I also like earth tones. I like the orange. I like the copper. I like the purple. I mean, stuff you see in a sunset or sunrise. Anyway, it does. If you want the bright, that's fine. I mean, I go there occasionally. I drive by it frequently, and so it's. I mean, I can understand the rationale, but my personal preference, I like the upper where you've got the forest green. If you have the lower as something different as a contrast, that's fine. But if that was going to be decided without, I had to put in my 2 cents.
Okay. Any other discussion on that motion? This is kind of exciting. Obviously, we don't get to do it very often, and it's a big expenditure, and it's something that'll benefit our residents. I think it's pretty neat that we get to participate in it, and I'm excited. It's a good-looking park or piece of equipment. So.
Can I just say something?
Yeah, one more comment, you bet.
All right, a couple of things have been said about usage in residents, and I'm of a opinion. Now, we have some fancy ways to try to ascertain some of this information, but a lot of the usage is by residents and the school kids, but out, especially during the summer when the splash pad, it's from outside of the residents, and that's fine. I mean, the demographics of elementary school. Now, a third of the residents of Riverdale are bused up to Washington Terrace, but Riverdale Elementary has hit a peak and then has backed off where all the classrooms aren't even used. They've got portables outside that are storage. And so it's not to say we're dying, it's just to say that there's not as many young people. Now, when they built those homes by the Stake Center, down where you live, where you used to live, when they built that 25 years ago, there was a lot of young families that moved in. Well, they've grown up and they've moved on, and the parents still live there. In fact, Riverdale Elementary is now Charter 1 school, which means it has a very high percentage of the population, or the student body, is low income, lower income demographics. And so the population of that school, using that as a reference to the city, is kind of dropping. And those that are here are more transitory, meaning they're renters. And so when you say it's going to get used, yeah, it'll get used by residents and a whole lot of other folks. And I just put that as a point of reference because it's going to be a lot more people. And great, I mean, I like the fact that it looks good and it's inviting. My office out at work has their picnic at that pavilion in the lower every summer. And the comments are always very positive about the appearance of the park, and it makes me proud to say, yeah, I live here. And so I like the upgrade. And that's just my comments.
Okay. All right. Councilor Haas.
I just want to make sure you brought this back up. This is the option that was in the motion.
Color option 1.
And the rendering on my computer looks a little bit darker purple than what it comes out on that. That almost looks like it was like the colors were bleached out a little bit versus what we got in our packets. I just want to
See how it's.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
You've got bad pixels on your computer.
I think it's the TV.
Yeah, and there's some, there's some differences there just with you can see here, these uprights look very, very white. Where if we go to the rendering, they're actually silver. Yeah, so they're.
Hey, that's sunset.
Yeah, and there's a sunset there as well too, but.
So the purple is a little darker than that bright.
Okay. I'm good with that then.
Clarification, thank you.
That, when I was looking at that, it almost, that big slide looks almost pink.
Yes.
In the video versus kind of I think it actually, plum or lavender type color. Okay. I'm good
All
with
right.
that then.
We have a motion on the table and a second. Ms. Maragoni, will you please poll the council?
Councilor Hawes?
Yes.
Councilor Richter?
Yes.
Councilor Stevens?
Yes.
Councilor Henson?
Yes.
Councilor Arnold?
Yes.
All right, that passes unanimously. That's very good. I'm excited about that.
Do you have a road runner?
We'll work on that.
We're the Riverdale Road Runners.
That would be pretty cool. All right, let's move on to item number 3, discussion about the process and criteria for evaluating potential volunteer coaches in consideration of Resolution 2025-04, approving and adopting volunteer coach hiring policy. Mr. Brooks.
Okay, now that we have that other one all official and in place, this is our first formal policy that we would be adopting. This is the criteria that we've used for years in how we determine who's going to be able to be volunteer for coaches for us. Obviously, anything like sexually related or violent related things is just a hard no kind of thing, unless there are extreme amounts of times, and some of those we don't even do that. So that's what we use. That's what we've always stood by, and we've just now formalized it and wanted to make sure you guys had your stamp of approval on it, and that's what it is.
Okay, Councilor Hanson.
On the lower level convictions, is that pretty standard of what most parks and recs do? Or rec departments?
Yeah, I think it would be pretty standard, most of this.
Do you have a concern with that?
No, I was just curious because I mean it's long. It was like 25.
Yeah,
25 years
I
on
probably
that.
went more, but that's my prosecuting side. I'm a little bit more hardcore on those things.
But you were specific, so
Right.
like
And I
theft
wanted
and
to
if it
err
was
on the
ever
side of
in-
caution, always on these kind of things. We don't want to take a chance with this. It's not worth it. It's a volunteer coach. So,
It's not like it was a hard ban on all of those for
Right.
25 years, just
Right.
specific.
right. And there's one thing, and we had one just recently that we had to sit down and take a look at because it was kind of unique. And so we still have that option in here, and we will do that on occasion. It's pretty rare, but we do sometimes. It's usually, here's the criteria, this is what it is, but once in a while you get a real weird one that we will look at a little closer.
Counselor Hawes.
What do you do in regards to substitutes? Like, if you have the coach and he doesn't happen to have an assistant?
Well, under this policy, they shouldn't be allowed because we haven't vetted them. You know, we do backgrounds on these guys and stuff too. So, I mean, our policy would say no at that point. I'm not saying that doesn't happen because we all know it does, but under our policy, that's what the policy would be. Without us vetting them, we would say no.
Okay, any other questions?
Clarify for me, do we do background checks on this, or is this self-report?
No, we do background checks on them.
I've been a volunteer coach several times, and even though I might go from season, I still have to do it again, you know.
Well, and things change, you know. The one that they did last year, something could have happened in the year, so we want them current. We make them current.
You know, and I see, I frequent the workout facility at the community center. I'm there on Saturday morning. I see the coaches working with the kids every week, and so it's like, you know, there's a lot of effort put in, and you have a lot of good parent support there, and sometimes a parent or two might inject themselves a little bit more than they've been invited to do, and sometimes they're asked to sit back.
And I know that's happened. And the nice thing about having this adopted and formally recognized by the city council is it gives Rich's people the power to go out and enforce that, because they can go out and say, look, unless you've gone through this process, you're not allowed to come out here. So,
All right. Counselor Hawes.
There was a little bit of discussion about the line in the prohibited conduct. It says, I will not transport or allow other parents to transport participants who are not their own child. And I just want to make sure that we'd talked about softening that a little bit so that it's not that the coach will not allow somebody else to transport.
we can clean that up.
Won't encourage other.
Right. We'll make it something down those lines that he won't be directly involved in who takes who and stuff like that, or something when it comes to other people's kids. It's a good point. I mean, I don't have a problem with it because we know that happens all the time, especially, you know, the way we're set up and we share with other cities and stuff. Some of our sports programs, it's just not realistic that we couldn't ask parents to, when they motor pool down from the Terrace or from South Ogden or UN or wherever they come from. So.
I guess the other thing is that, you know, when I was doing it with my kids, there were plenty of times when, you know, Stacia, Alex, and Sally all needed to be at the game, and one of us took them. If I happened to have been the coach, this policy would say I couldn't do that.
Right. It's just in the code of conduct, so I'm not as concerned about that as I am the actual resolution itself. But I'll clean that up. That's not a big deal.
Okay.
The resolution itself is the meat and potatoes, and that's the part that we're really concerned about.
I was good with the resolution. The other piece was about the coach not. I will respect the decisions of officials and city staff without dissent, comment, or protest. I like that one.
Yeah.
That's gonna happen.
That's Rich's thing. So. It'll be fun.
You weren't at the
Good
game
luck.
last night, apparently. Okay. If there's no other comments, we need a motion. Councilor Arnold.
Move to approve resolution 2025-04 with the changes in the language that Councilor Hawes brought up.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second?
Councilor Richter on the second. Any discussion on that motion? Ms. Maragoni. Oh, Councilor Arnold.
I do have one question. If we have something like that in the language and the coach does something, is the city liable for anything if they're, I mean, we're saying they're not letting them, but they do.
Like in the code of conduct, I mean, there could be a slight possibility. Anytime something like that happens, you're going to get sued. Whether or not you'd be held liable. Code of conduct isn't that binding, really. Technically, it's not a law or anything. I wouldn't worry as much about that one.
I just think when we address it, that's when it brings it up.
Yeah.
More than. Anyway.
Well, and that's kind of why I wanted something in there that says, hey, this is our policy. If the coaches or the parents choose to go something in contrary to that, then they're damaging their own case by doing that. It's not the city. The city had this policy in place, and it wasn't followed by them, so the burden's on them rather than us.
I just think if we have some language somewhere when the kids are signing up, that they, because sometimes the kids just come in and Rich assigns them to a team. And then, I mean, we kind of, now that you bring this up, I mean, the tighter you make it, the more scrutiny you bring. Sometimes that's.
And it's like any law, though, Alan, that we pass. I mean, we could beat these things to death, and something's going to fall through the cracks every time. And so you do the best you can to cover yourselves. Sometimes it works, and not always. You just know that going into it. So.
All right, let's see. Any other discussion on the motion? Ms. Maragoni, will you please poll the council?
Councilor Hanson?
Yes.
Councilor Hawes?
Yes.
Councilor Arnold?
Yes.
Councilor Stevens?
Yes.
Councilor Richter?
Yes.
All right, that passes unanimously. I will just comment that I have a son that plays on one of our basketball teams, and they have the same team for 3 years in a row. And there's just a young guy that coaches them. Doesn't have any kids. He just loves to coach, and I kind of asked him, "What's your involvement?" He's like, "I don't know. I just like coaching basketball," and he's just a great guy, and it's been really fun. And yeah, so anyway, we have some great coaches in the city. Number 4, consideration of resolution 2025-05, declaring property as surplus and authorizing the use or sale of the same. Mr. Brooks.
Thank you, Mayor. As I mentioned in a pre-planning meeting, the purchase on the furniture for this whole building, including your guys' chairs, the courtroom upstairs, that is all coming in 2 weeks. What we want to do is we've scheduled because we have not cleaned these carpets in here since it was put in. I don't remember, that was back when Shelley was here, so we're probably knocking on 20 years on that. We just did have the tile. I don't know if you saw that when you came in tonight in any of these areas. That was just cleaned this weekend. That's all part of that package. We removed some of those rugs, and you would not believe the contrast. I mean, it was almost disgusting. And that's just the tile. So the carpet's that dirty as well. Anyway, that's all in the works. They're coming to clean carpet this weekend, and so we have to get stuff out. We've been shopping that around for Cody and Sean. Both have been working on this for a couple of weeks, trying to find people who would be willing to buy that. And we are having a really, really difficult time. Nobody wants it. It's old. It's mismatched. A lot of it's beat up. And so we just need a surplus so we can do something with it. We're still working on that. But the biggest concern I have is that Sean's guys are going to be tasked with getting that stuff removed, and we can't tie them up for 2 or 3 days, especially if we have storms coming in. This is going to be a mess for us. So we just need it surplus so we can move at this point, and we'll do what we can to get rid of it and try and sell what we can and dispose of what we can't. So that's where we're at. But I need it officially recognized by you guys. I mean, the way our code reads is if it's designated of less than $100, it's up to the city administrator to determine that. Even like some of our better desks, we've sent pictures out and stuff to some of these places. They won't even give us $100. At best, we're getting offers of $20 and things on these desks. So at that point, I don't know that it's even worth tying our guys up, especially one auction place out of Salt Lake will auction it off, but we have to get it down there. Well, this is a massive amount of work, so that's not really an option for us either. So we'll be working on this. All of our offices are torn up right now. It's just chaos around here, but this was snuck up on us, and here we are. So I just need it surplus so we can dispose of it.
Any questions or comments for Mr. Brooks? Okay, we would need a motion.
Move to approve resolution 2025-05, declaring property held by the city as lost, unclaimed surplus, or otherwise no longer viable for city use.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? Ms. Maragoni, will you please poll the council?
Counselor Arnold?
No.
Counselor Hawes?
Yes.
Counselor Richter?
Yes.
Counselor Hanson?
Yes.
Counselor Stevens?
Yes.
Okay, that passes 4-1. All right, we have no need to go into a closed session tonight, so we'll move on to Section H, comments. Any comments from the City Council for this meeting? Any comments from the city staff for this meeting?
I would just point out the driving piles up there on the hill are starting. I think the official was the 10th, wasn't it?
11th, really.
Okay. They'll be up there moving stuff on the 10th. So just so you know, that will start up and that will run through March 8th. It's going to be going for a while, and there will be some noise. The contractors up there will be reaching out to some of the businesses. I don't know if they're going to go to residents. Are they, Sean? Did they
They
talk
did
about
not
that?
say they was going to residents. We'll try and get it out on our pages and that now that we have a committed date. You'll hear from some residents, I'm sure, on it.
Yeah. It's just going to be
Big
during
project.
the day. It won't be at night, but it's going to be loud, just so you know. That is coming up, and you will get some complaints about it. The other thing I would mention in that same meeting is we were talking to them, and Sean's working on this. We're trying to salvage this thing, but next January, those lines up there, those water lines, when you're dealing with a 30-inch water line with Weber Basin, that is not an easy project to do. And by the time we shut that off and move those kind of things, there's going to be a period in January is what it's looking like now, where at least all the water in on that west bench and even up there around Ritter Drive in that area, some of those residents will be without water for at least 24 hours, if not longer. Sean's working on that. We're trying to divert that through a different route and bring it up a different way, but just so you know, that will be coming next winter. And it's all part of that same project and moving that 30-inch line of Weber Basins. Did you want to add anything else to that, Sean?
No, we did meet with them again today and reiterated that we want them to put more effort into lessening that short downtime. And it might not be that we're totally without water, but the pressures will be extremely low. That's a one-way feed up there due to elevation and closeness, how close that area is to our tanks. And we receive our pressure in our system from the elevation on the tanks. And then people up there, where they're at, without that Weber Basin feed, there's just no pressure really to push water to them. So it'll be a huge outreach to make sure everybody's notified and then try and lessen it down to where it's less than 24 hours. So we have some time to work on it, and so hopefully we can come up with a better solution. We're looking at several things. So
We'll keep you posted as that gets closer, but just so you know, this is very concerning, but we don't have any options on it. It's going to happen. America First wants this done as badly as we do. It's just that they're kind of at the mercy of some of these utility companies. There's not much you can do. And the last thing I would mention, we did not get any opposition to the March 4th night. That will primarily be budget, but there will also be some strategic planning involved in that, a little part of that, again, based on time. And then we'll probably look at another date further on in March that'll be primarily strategic planning instead of budget. So probably the 18th is what we were thinking about that one, unless you guys had some strong objections to that after our city council meetings on both of those. So the 4th for sure, and likely the 18th. Unless those are bad nights for you. But we didn't get any feedback that the 4th was bad, so that's the one we're planning on at this point. Any questions on any of that?
Okay. Thanks, Mr. Brooks. Mr. Douglas, I'm sure the people will be so happy from driving on that new road that water shut-off won't even hardly affect them.
are we going to drive on that new road?
I hear June is what the newsletter said, so I made the promise, so.
Okay, we'll work to get that done.
Thanks, Arnold.
I guess it's probably better in the meeting. Is there, what's going on down on, like 5100-ish? They've lined it out with yellow flags and painted it and stuff, or are you guys tearing up the?
5100, like where at?
Like 1050 or what?
No, it's 5100 south-ish, down the hill from, or right behind the school.
Like the private school?
Mm-hmm.
So we're
Good
putting together,
foundations.
we're putting, in that whole block area back there, we're putting together a fairly large water project
Oh, okay.
that you guys it'll come before you once we get it bid out. But
'Cause
depending on funding wise and how much we can do, we're looking to do most of that
they already have it
section.
painted and yellow flags.
So part of the design work is we need to know where the utilities are.
Oh,
And
okay.
so we're trying to avoid conflicts, and so they'll blue stake that area and then do the design. Like, we're still going to have conflicts. We know that because sometimes the marks aren't right, or we're guessing on elevations. We know the location, but the elevation might be deeper than what it normally is. But it's design work. It has not been out to bid yet, but it's designed for that
Yeah, I was
water
just
line
wondering
over
if
there.
we're doing the curb and gutter like we did.
So the plan is to get the water line in place and then make sure our trenches have a year or two to settle. And then that area is one of the priorities for a road project, following that up.
Thank you.
Okay, so like Mr. Brooks said, a month from today, we'll be doing our budget meeting after the city council meeting, and then maybe a few minutes for strategic planning, but certainly on the 18th, we're going to be trying to do some really future planning. And so what I want the council to do between now and then is I want you to maybe think a little bit, I don't know, maybe more into the future rather than just, they're going to move the school here. What is the school really going to look like in 10 or 15 years when they go to build it? Is it going to look anything like what is school going to be like? The buildings, the transportation. We talked about this, this advanced air mobility type stuff. Like I'd like you to maybe just try to familiarize yourselves with some of the theories and the ideas that are coming that are going to be different, transportation wise, everything, rather than just saying, well, it's going to be just like it is now. It's just going to be 15 years later. Try to dig really deep and kind of put some real deep thought into what exactly is Riverdale going to look like, not just the same with maybe some newer buildings with the exact same stuff. Does that make sense? What is it really? What's transportation going to look like? What's working going to look like? Jobs, stuff with AI, transportation, like I said. Anyway, try to put a little bit of deep thought in there, because rather than just our regular strategic planning, I'd like to maybe think about what the future is really going to bring and maybe try to get ahead of some of that stuff. All right. I don't have anything else. So with that, we need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
All right. We're adjourned. Okay, we'll now move into our Riverdale City RDA board meeting.
You canceled the closed session thing?
Yes, we did. Yep, we did not need it tonight. Thank you. This is the Riverdale City RDA board meeting for Tuesday, February 4th, 2025. Please let the record show that all members of the RDA board are present, as well as members of the city staff. We have no members of the public here, so no public comment for tonight, no presentations. We have one consent item, consideration to approve the meeting minutes from the August 6th, 2024 RDA board meeting and work session. Are there any corrections or changes to those minutes? Seeing none, we need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
All right. That's approved. Action items. Number 1, consideration of resolution R 2025-01, authorizing the establishment of a survey area comprised of certain land generally located between Interstate 15 and Interstate 84, Riverdale and 4400 South, Riverdale Road. Mr. Cooper.
Okay, thank you very much. We have a presentation, but I think it's the other one.
Oh. Yeah.
Very good. Thank you very much. So you all are familiar with this area. This is the currently the site of the America First project. It's the West Bench RDA, which has been in place since 2005. It's had a number of things change in terms of the budget and the duration, but the geographic area that was approved in 05 is essentially the same geographic area that we're dealing with now. You probably recall that the tax increment collection period wasn't triggered until 2025. So we have yet to collect as an agency any of that incremental value from the improvements that have largely happened on the south side. There has been a number of things on the north side as well of Riverdale Road with the Tesla and the ops building for America First, but we haven't collected any of those new revenue, new increment dollars. We do have a collection period ahead of us of 17 years, and so that will kind of catch up to itself. We'll see a windfall in the next couple of years because that backlog of value increase over the last couple decades, and so it's working as it was intended. There's a little timeline for your reference. We'll probably come back to this, but again, it was created in 05. It had an original base year valuation of about $19 million. The original budget was 15 years at a $9 million cap with 100% participation from the taxing entities. That was amended a little bit in 2019, as I mentioned, to change when that tax increment was collected. And then in 2021, the state authorized a 2-year extension to certain project areas because of COVID. That's what gets us to our 17 years currently. And now, because of the shift in the nature of the proposed project from the origination of from 2005 till now, we have need to look at a different mechanism to bring about that project. So if you remember, some of the things that were intended in the origination of the West Bench were more of a flex industrial building. There was an actual development agreement that was signed and approved by the board a few years ago with a developer who was actually going to receive the $9 million that was part of that original project area and budget for some flex buildings. That actually didn't take place, and since that time, America First has changed their campus plans, and so they are now looking at a much more robust project that actually has housing and some hospitality and retail and other commercial components to it. You've seen this map. This is their concept map that they've created. So down at the bottom is where the Maverick is, and as you go towards the upper right of the page in that pinkish salmon color, that's where you get to 4400. So it really is comprised of the whole area. They own most of that land except for the Tesla and where some of the offices are. And because of this new project, it's brought about a whole host of public improvements that weren't contemplated during the original project area establishment. Again, that $9 million was largely geared towards the relocation of some power lines and some other things like that. Now with this new project from America First, it's looking at, as you see there, a whole new road system. There's a tie-in to I-15 with the slip ramp. Here's some things that are a little better to identify. There's new traffic signals. There's new water, sewer, storm drain. Basically, everything up there needs to be upgraded in order to accommodate the project that America First is contemplating. Here's a list of some of those. We've worked with their engineers and we've worked with our folks, and we've essentially come up with about a $42 million cost that is necessary to bring about these public improvements that would then accommodate the future proposal. That's not a cost that America First can or is willing to bear, which is exactly why tax increment as a tool for financing development gaps exists in the first place. But again, the $9 million that's currently established as the budget cap and the 17 years in the West Bench RDA that currently exists is not enough to meet that $42 million need for the current proposed project. What we had originally anticipated was that we were going to make an amendment to the current West Bench RDA and essentially just grow it to incorporate that new land to the north, and then ask the taxing entity committee, which was the group that established it in the first place, ask them to approve the boundary adjustment as well as the budget adjustment. Well, we went back and forth with our RDA attorney, and he won. So basically, there was some, I wouldn't say disagreement, but different interpretation of the definition of a urban renewal area and a community reinvestment area. And because this was established initially as an urban renewal area, that term isn't used anymore. The statute currently says that in order to amend an existing urban renewal area, you have to do so in the same way that you created it, which means we would have to have all of the new land that we were proposing to bring into the existing project area designated as blight. And that just wouldn't happen because most of it's vacant and it wouldn't fall under that criteria. And so we've elected to essentially incorporate the same land, which is all of that land to the north, but under his recommendation to do it in the CRA process, which is the community reinvestment area, the current vernacular that describes these types of project areas. So this is a brand new area that we would be creating. The budget would be such that it would essentially, combined with the current RDA that you see there in purple, would essentially get us to the same budget projections that we were intending to get to with just the amendment to the existing RDA. But that's all to come in the future. The first step in order to actually do that is to establish a survey area. So the statute says that the board has to essentially, by resolution, designate a geographic area to study to determine if one or multiple project areas are necessary. And so that's what the request is tonight, is to approve the resolution that allows us as staff to go ahead and study that. And then in the future, we will bring back to you a draft project area plan that includes much more detail as well as a budget that helps you understand exactly how we're trying to meet these goals.
Thank you. Good job getting the Pawn America in that new survey area. I think that's a great
Yeah, we thought that
great fit. Yeah.
Yeah, fits exactly. It's the same area.
Any questions or comments for Mr. Cooper? Seeing none, we would need a motion. Board Member Arnold.
Move to approve resolution R 2025-01 as stated within the packet.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? Ms. Maragoni, will you please poll the board?
Mr. House?
Yes.
Hanson?
Yes.
Mr. Richter?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mr. Arnold?
Yes.
All right, that passes unanimously. Very good. Thank you. Right. Action item number 2, consideration of resolution R 2025-02, authorizing the executive director to execute a real estate purchase contract for the purchase of approximately 2.98 acres located at 5800 South Weaver Drive, Riverdale, Utah. Mr. Brooks or Cooper?
I'll defer to Brandon on this,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, thank you. As we're getting the presentation up, I just have a few slides on this. This is something that's familiar with you. In fact, a couple of meetings ago, I believe you had asked a question of us as to whether or not this transaction was going forward. At that time, we actually said no because we weren't at a price that was agreeable between us as the buyer and the seller. Since that time, that price has come down to a price that we feel is fair for the city. It's basically equivalent to farmland price. And so what you're seeing here is the plat map showing the boundary of the property. It's 2.98 acres off of South Weber Drive. It's up against the Utah Power and Light substation there. Here's a view from the road. It's essentially just been farmed for a long, long time. There are a few structures on the site, mostly hay barns and a couple of lean-to sheds, things like that. The seller is required to remove all personal property from the property prior to closing, which is scheduled to happen on Thursday, pending tonight's decision. So that'll eliminate some of our costs. We will go in and clean it up and remove anything that hasn't been removed, but the cars and the tractors and some of the other equipment there will be removed, and that'll save us a little bit of money. The seller is the John Flynn Trust. He has passed away. It is his wife, Debbie, who is administering that trust now. She has authority to sign on behalf of the trust. Again, it's 2.98 acres, $150,000. There should be another zero there. Sorry about that. And again, pending tonight's decision, we would close and take title to this on Thursday. We will do some survey work after closing to pinpoint the property corners just to make sure that we know exactly where the land is, as does the neighbors. And then I mentioned the demolition of the structures. We also will be working with some of the adjacent landowners to make sure that the farming work that has happened on the property will continue to happen, and that'll cut down any ongoing maintenance costs that we might have to endure with this property in the short term. And so with that, we recommend approval of the resolution.
And it did also include, was it 7 water shares?
21 shares of water. Thank you.
21 shares.
To where?
Riverdale bench. So those
Significant.
are part of the 150, and those will be transferred at closing. Thank you for the reminder.
One other quick question. How wide is that access onto South Weber Drive?
Not very wide. I measured it only on Google. I think it's about 30 feet. Ordinance says 16. You have to have 16 feet of road frontage to be a parcel or a lot, and it meets that.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Cooper? Seeing none, a motion be in order.
I'm going to assume something here because I'm scrolling, but move to approve resolution R 2025-02 as stated within the packet with the purchase price of $150,000.
Perfect. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion on that? Board Member Arnold.
I would just say, I'm not crazy about buying property like this because I don't see a lot of value in this particular, but I don't know how much those water shares are worth. But that's why I'm all in on this one. I think that's a great find there with the water shares.
Okay, any other discussion? Ms. Maragoni, will you please pull the board?
Board Member Stevens,
Yes.
Mr. Richter,
Yes.
Mr. Arnold,
Yes.
Ms. Hanson,
Yes.
Mr. Hall.
Yes.
All right, that passes unanimously. Thank you. Any comments for this meeting? All right, if there's none, then we would need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion, do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor say yes.
Yes.
All right, we are adjourned.
I think Sean was saying that the Riverdale bench